सुनने वालों को सिराज ज़ैदी का बहुत बहुत प्यार भरा आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. Welcome to Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. Each Thursday from 3 to 4, I'm here broadcasting from the studio to the world. Tune me in. सुनने वालों को सिराज ज़ैदी का बहुत बहुत आदाब, नमस्कार and good afternoon. You're very welcome to the program. You're listening to Apna Radio, broadcasting at 93.9 Dublin South FM. So each week, that's what we do. My apologies for missing last week. And once again, you heard the repeat program last week. I was away on my holidays. And where did I go? I'm not telling you. Some of the time I'll tell you. But it was a great break because the pressure is building up of the film festival. And of course, the weekly show pressure is no less than doing it properly. And now that we have also a third leg of the program going on air from this week, and we had been successful of executing Renita S. Kapoor's Roohani ke purane Khat as part of this program, which you'll be hearing it later on. So all in all, program is back on air. Unfortunately, Charmaine is not around this week. She's in Donegal, and indeed was under the impression that I was away for 2 weeks. Usually people do take a 2 weeks holiday rather than a week. We're the only crazy people who only take 1 week holiday. Anyway, 1 week was not enough, but it was enough to shake the dust that you accumulate.
They have signed a free trade agreement in July this year. And this trademark relationship is supposed to bring lots of advantages, both to Britain and India. It was supposed to be done a few years ago, but then it seems lots of negotiations were happening and both countries were trying to get the best out of the deal. As journalists, we want to have a look as to what is the kind of effort which has gone into getting this deal done and whether it is making any sense. So we dive deep into the content of the agreement and found lots of surprising things. The final judgment whether this deal makes sense or not, we will leave it to the end. But the details are at places funny, important, and worth reading between the lines. For those of you who are new to history, India and Britain have a long relationship of something called colonial rule. And that has made India an important legacy of Great Britain, in which, according to some authors and historians, the British government has systematically looted the wealth, the natural resources, and the labor resources of India. In other rude, raw terms, they are called as slaves. But let's say in a dignified way, they used the labor forces of India and the natural resources in order to build the empire. Things changed in 1947, but then the great leaders of India, instead of being hostile to a nation, made the historic, most humane reconciliation and continued with the relationship on the positive ground, found synergy in both the countries, now independent nations, and rebuild the technological and the economical groundwork to make India great again. Great again because that's the slogan these days, everybody's talking. In our radio show also, we should talk about making India great again. All is well. India had been doing lots of trade deals, but this word trade deal has come new in last, let's say, 7 to 10 years. Before that, there were bilateral agreements. And in the bilateral agreements, trade was one aspect. The other aspects was cultural exchange, student exchange, education development, research and development partnerships, joint ventures. So they were not called trade deals. They were bilateral agreements. And now in this new age, I would say more influenced by the American and the European way of doing things, they have started to call trade deals. And that has made conceptually the heads of state like the Prime Minister of India and the Prime Minister and presidents of other countries as businessmen. On a side note, this is detrimental to the country because now the focus is purely on the economics, on the money value of the relationship, and the people synergy that we are looking at, the cooperation to develop a new society, something to learn from each other. That is not a focus, unfortunately. In fact, that should be the focus. What do we get to learn from the Americans, from the British, from the Russians, from the Japanese management? We would hardly learn if we have a trade deal with them. Trade deal is about they're selling some goods, we buying some goods at a particular price. Tariff is the new word, thanks to Trump for making it popular. And then we export some goods on some tariff terms, matter ends. But what do we learn from the Japanese School of Management? What do we learn from the German manufacturing? That is not only secondary, it is not even a focus. So 2025 and India does a trade deal, free trade agreement with Britain. There is one pending with the United States also. We spoke last week, but then currently this is the focus. Once the United States trade deal comes to effect, we will discuss about that. But this is the discussion we are having today. And to understand, it's very simple. If you summarize, it's in 4 lines. India would be exporting textiles, apparels, gems, jewelries, leather, machinery, auto parts, pharmaceutical, processed food, some marine products, and it would include also basmati rice, spices, tea, some packaged food. That's it. And don't laugh at it. And then UK will export at a lower tariff whiskey, beauty products, premium vehicles, medical devices, aerospace technology. That's it. So for these items, few of them, it has taken ages and the top bureaucrats and the heads of the countries to come to an agreement. Okay, these are the items that you export and these are the items which will have a lower tariff over a period of time. Now, funny enough, if you look at these items, India will export textiles. Britain is already importing textiles and apparel from countries like Bangladesh and Vietnam and Sri Lanka and China at a much cheaper price. So I don't think so India is going to have an advantage by exporting those textiles. Pharmaceuticals is one piece where Indian generic medicines are important and they are being exported to most of the African countries and the developing economies. How far Britain would be willing to take the Indian generic drugs is a question mark. Of course, there is pressure on the government of Britain to bring down the cost of the National Health Service. But then the volume, I don't think so is going to matter much because the pharma industry's its own game plan is against the use of generic medicines, and their lobby and clout in the National Health Service and the government to use the latest and the greatest of pharmaceutical innovations is going to push against the Indian generic medicines. Basmati rice as it is, Britain gets it from India, Pakistan. Spices, how can the trade agreement have spices on its agenda? The entire colonization has been based on spice trade. Didn't the bureaucrats and the heads of state didn't understand the history, this part of history called spices, spice trade, which brought about the exploitation of the world and the East India Company. But then this is going to be a duty-free access for the Indian agricultural exports for basmati rice, tea, spices, and packaged food. So these are very low value items which India is very happy to export to Britain. On the other hand, India will import whiskey, beauty products, and premium vehicles. Now we need to understand that India doesn't need whiskey. We already have drinking problem in the society. State after state campaigning against alcohol. We are finding the ill effects of alcoholism. The state where the Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, comes from is a dry state. Bihar is a dry state. So how come the Indian Prime Minister comes to Britain and then says, oh, well, we would like to import whiskey to the country? So generally, in principle, this is going against the very grain of the Indian Prime Minister and the Indian society, which is gaining traction against the consumption of alcohol. Beauty products are another one. where we find that the labels are British, but they are not being manufactured in Britain. And there are better beauty product labels which are being sold already in India. So I don't see a value add that the British brands would bring into India as far as the beauty products are concerned. Yes, they may get an opening, and for some status symbols, people can use them. Whether it will make Indians look better, I have my doubts. The premium vehicles will have the tariff reduced to 10% over a period of time. We should understand that the premium vehicles like Jaguar and Land Rover, they are Tata Group companies. And therefore, it is one Indian company who is going to get advantage of selling its manufactured vehicles back into India. So it is the British Indian balance sheet versus the Indian balance sheet, which is going to get reconciled here, which is going to get merged here. And I don't see there is going to be a national advantage except for the Tatas. The medical devices is one area which Britain is going to export to India at a lower tariff. And I did some research about these devices and the companies which are making those. And to my surprise, I found that among the top 10 device manufacturers of Britain who are not relabeling their products, they are making small time catheters and small invasive devices, which I think Indian manufacturers themselves can make it. In fact, some of the companies I researched about the medical devices, so-called the British labels, they are getting manufactured in Malaysia and Egypt. Now, how does this work in this free trade agreement? I cannot say much. And why it makes sense that a piece of device, small device, which is made in Egypt for this medical company, British medical company, comes to India at a lower tariff. Another piece of research that anybody can do, the most crucial device in the medical field today is the MRI machines, the scanners. And that is where the diagnostic starts before anything else can be done to a patient. And the companies which are best and the greatest MRIs are the Philips, the Siemens, and GE Healthcare. They are not British. So what is it that Britain is going to offer India as far as the medical devices are concerned? So the last item we came across was the aerospace technology. Yes, there is some research going on by the British aerospace engineers. They had made the Typhoon aircraft or the Jaguars, the fighter jet that Indian Air Force had, but now we are not dealing with that. It's the French Rafales, which again was going to be a bankrupt company, and the Indian order recovered and brought back that company into the greens. So Rafale and the Dassault are the ones where India is dealing with, but they are French. The Rolls-Royce aircraft engines, Indian commercial aircrafts would need them, and that is where the tariffs can have an advantage. But I do understand that whenever the Indian airlines are doing a deal of buying the Boeing or the Airbus aircraft, they are also doing the deal for the spare engines and the other spare for the aircraft. I am not able to see argument as to say Indigo or Air India doing a deal with Airbus, which is not necessarily a British company, but it's a European company with multiple European partners. They would buy separately a British Rolls-Royce engine and hence the tariff advantage. So all these items on the free trade agreement is ridiculous, and they are necessarily not giving any advantage that India should actually feel proud of or say, well done. We are in an advantage and our general population is going to benefit out of it. So what are the great misses that we have in this free trade agreement? The Indian students, the parents these days, have status trap of sending their children to British universities. And whatever the name and fame of the university, the size or whether the credibility of the university, some of them are even worse than Indian universities, but then there is a British tag to it. Indian students end up paying 2.5 to 3 times the fees of average British student. The trade deal has no clause or any agreement that the fees of Indian students coming to Britain will be reduced at a particular rate. If it is 3 times, it should have been at least equal to the British students, because at the end of the day, the Indian education has got depleted because of the colonial rule. And that advantage, that agreement, that reparation, that compensation must be passed on to India. And therefore, I would have fought for the Indian students to get a fee waiver or equivalent fee to any British student. So nothing on that, on this agreement. There is some mention about the Indian chefs, musicians, yoga teachers, and IT experts. There are more employees in the Indian restaurants in Britain than the workers in the mines and steel industry of Britain at one time. The history goes back to 1920s and 30s when the dock workers from Bangladesh, at the time United India, they were brought in and they started the restaurants. And today, Britain has at least 1 or 2 Indian restaurants in every street of Britain. So do we need chefs? There are 3rd generation, 4th generation chefs already working in Britain. So we don't need them. Indian musicians are already traveling and performing in Britain. Yes, yoga instructors, Britain health services are in bad shape, and generally the health of the nation is not the best. We would require yoga instructors. And IT experts, there are 2,000 GCCs, global capability centers of various companies from the world, including Britain, working out of India. So travel of IT experts is a rare phenomenon now. We don't need it. So what is all about these ease of business mobility? It is not going to make an impact. Finally, between the lines, there is a capping that for a particular profession, Britain would issue only 1,800 visas. There is a salary threshold also. So overall, if you see item by item, places by places, advantage and disadvantage, this deal is making no sense. It is just a document. And over a period of time, probably the smart thing that the British have been able to do is create a placeholder. And in future, wherever it comes as an amendment, they would like to push in for something which would be an advantage to them. Like in the leaked report of the agreement, the draft agreement, the British were trying to sell their apples to the Indian market, which would have been a clear disadvantage to our Jammu Kashmir farmers growing apples and the Himachal Pradesh farmers. So something like this would come in future where some items are included as an amendment. But for now, this free trade agreement means nothing. Or if at all we can make a good argument, it means drop in the ocean. Strategically too, India and Britain are standing on the opposite side of Ukraine war. Trump and his allies are against India buying the Russian oil. They are against Indian and Russian relationship, which has stood the test of time. Therefore, as a concept, India is not gaining anything by strengthening the British relationship. As far as the Chinese are concerned, the British market is flooded with the Chinese technology, both the basic goods and the high-end technology and communication and even the nuclear reactor. So British has got nothing to offer. India has got on its own manpower and technology, right from the nuts and bolts to nuclear power. So strategically too, there is no counterbalance with China that the British trade agreement is going to help India. Why this deal is done? Who will have an advantage? As of now, I don't see one, but then time will tell. Until then, stay safe, stay informed, and dutifully ask questions.
Broadcasting from the Dundrum Town Centre, this is Dublin South FM.
Are you part of a local community group or representative organisation active in the Dun Laoghaire Rathdown area? Why not join a network of over 400 such groups in the Dun Laoghaire Rathdown Public Participation Network? You can join the group, influence local policy, get regular updates about funding and other opportunities, connect with other groups like yours, publicise your group, and even get free training and support. Make sure your voice is heard through DLR Public Participation Network as a registered group in the county. Dun Laoghaire Rathdown Public Participation Network. For full information, find us online at dlrppn.ie. That's dlrppn.ie.
At Capital Credit Union, we put our members first. Our new member service team is available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m, Monday to Friday, and 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturdays, online or by phone, along with our normal branch hours. So, whether you want to apply for a loan, register for our online banking, or avail of our insurance options, you can get in touch with us today at 01 299 0400 or by emailing us at info@capitalcu.ie. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. Warning, if you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating. Capital Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Have you been unemployed for over 12 months? Would you like to do something to help benefit your local community? The Southside Partnership TOOS programme can offer you valuable part-time, local work experience opportunities in the community and voluntary sector. Current positions available include radio production, sports coaching, librarian, caretaker, administration and many more. While taking part, you will receive a top-up on your social welfare job seekers payment and gain valuable work experience, helping to boost your motivation and confidence. For more information on positions that might match your interests, please call us at 01 706 0100 or go to www.southsidepartnership.ie/TOOS.
Broadcasting to South Dublin on 93.9. This is Dublin South FM.
Thank you very much, Sharad, for once again a deep analysis about the issues of tariff in India and the relationship. And of course, it's bouncing back from the Mr. Modi's trip to UK by selling a trade agreement and bilateral agreement and all the rest of it. But what is exactly is the important thing is that what you have said, that stop this nonsense of education bluff that UK has been playing on India. And I request for Indian parents and Indian families as well that they should stop actually sending their kids to UK for the most expensive education system. And here, no difference in Ireland either, because they're charging you 3 times than the local fee. And just because they want to push their push their children out of India through the education channels. So once you are, enrolled in the universities of United Kingdom, your chances for employment in India will go up and all that nonsense. Colonial mentality. Why you want to send your kids to UK when you have your own wonderful universities in India? And similarly here, places like, Smurfit Business School, DBS, Dublin Bottlywala School, I call it, and also the Griffith College, all of them are ripping off the Indian students and charging them arm and a leg 3 times over the cost of the local fees. So that's one area that is also very, very important for us to remember. And it's my duty to convey that through my program that, listen, guys, they're not selling glorified apple and oranges and, bananas, which are not available in the Indian universities. Everything Indian universities is offering is a better education, higher education, and things like that. What else is happening is that now UK is setting up their own universities back in India. Recently, Belfast Queen's University has opened a massive university outfit in Gujarat. And our dear friend Satish Kumar is going over there to head that outfit. And similarly, more initiatives have been taken because obviously education is a big business, and the UK have realized that you need to suck the money as much as possible from the Indian students who come over here to study. And not only the study, but then, of course, the employment potential, and you get opportunity to 1-year visa, 2-year visa for working visa and all the rest of it. And therefore, you're earning in pound sterling and euros as opposed to rupees. But now the salary level in India for educated graduates and postgraduates and professionals have gone up, and it's at par at as much as is in Europe and particularly in the UK. But it's still, people don't learn. People do keep sending their children abroad, and they think, because that's the tradition used to be. Remember that film? I can't remember, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, or one of those Karan Johar films where we says, Mohabbatein, I think it was Mohabbatein, Shah Rukh Khan, Amitabh Bachchan or something, one of those films, where it says, it is parampara to send children to the UK. And when the people from UK returned back to India after education, they proudly put on the nameplate, so-and-so, a degree holder, lawyer, doctors or whatever, and in brackets, from UK, London. What the nonsense? What completely nonsense? Is as if they have gained up their qualification because of that. So that is one thing. And of course, what else is happening is in the world is the, obnoxious Mr. Donald Trump is imposing tariff on India. And Mr. Modi is talking about whiskey and a liquor from UK exporting to India. Where he comes from, Gujarat, is a dry state. Dry state means there is no liquor is allowed. There's no liquor shops, cannot served, and all that. And here he's trying to sort of lure the drink maker or whiskey makers to sell it to, and Ireland is the same. That Ireland is looking for the Far East market now, because the tariff war has started between Europe and the United States of America. So Donald Trump has actually destroyed this free trade agreement of the world in the last few decades that has been signed between the United Nations and all the other global trade agreements were always free of tariff. But that is not anymore, because he's been obnoxious individuals who's been cruelly working hand in gloves with the Benjamin Netanyahu for destroying and completely now owning the Gaza. Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, they have planned to take over the entire Gaza Strip and then to create that into Riviera and build the, apartments and holiday apartments and things like that, because it's beside the sea. And from the sea to the river, the great Palestine is gone. You could openly declare that. And we have just consumed that in the news bits and did nothing about it. Nobody can do anything about it because it's Donald Trump, the most powerful individual in the world, with the powerful army in the world, is backing that concept, is working hand in gloves with another obnoxious individual whose arrest warrant is out there by International Court of Justice. That is Benjamin Netanyahu. Anyway, that is something which is very, very disturbing because world has realized that, this is something nobody can say anything, nobody can do anything about it. In front of our eyes, we have seen the obliteration of the great state of Palestine. So there's no two-state solution anymore being talked about it. Recognizing, yes, France has recognized, Ireland has recognized, Malta has recognized, Spain has recognized Palestine as a state. I said earlier on, many a times, whatever it was there before, how can you recognize that? It was already there. What was not there was Israel. But anyway, that's a bigger question, and I don't want to go deeper into it because the more I talk about it, the more my blood boils, and the world doesn't give a damn two hoots about it because it's not affecting their lives. People getting, their four square meals a day, enjoying their life, holidays, work, and all the rest of it. Nobody bothers about the starving people, killing people, and obliterating the actual existence of the poor people, poorest of the poor, called the Palestinian people. That is something which is, as I said, happening as we talk, but the countries who did recognize, what are they going to do about it? What is the next step? Are we going to let them to take over the entire thing, which they have taken over, and then push the remaining 1.5 million to 2 million people, which is left over, into the sea, or shove that into Egypt or neighboring country, as their plans are, or Jordan, and we are not doing nothing. I think, personally speaking, people like, Mary Robinson, people like Michael D. Higgins, we all sit together and brainstorm the plan how to save the nation of Palestine. That is it. That is the grand plan that I have actually been talked about it, and I've been planning and thinking about it. In fact, going a step further, creating a peace parliament here in Ireland. Yes, nobody's talking about peace. I'm obsessed with peace because I have actually created a theme this year in my film festival. And I will give you the full menu of the film festival just to talk about a little bit that I have created a theme, Make Films Not War. Make films not war, and peace in the world. I'm engaged with the Ukrainian ambassador, and I visited the embassy of Ukraine the other day and met a wonderful young man, what's his name? Domino. And we were talking about them to come over on the Gala Night. And the Gala Night will take place on the 6th of September. Film Festival opens on the 5th of September at the newly opened Omniplex Cinema here in Rathfarnham, and Nutgrove Shopping Centre. And then, in fact, the promo is out, and I shall be screening, exposing and broadcasting the content of that promo. So the festival will open at 5th of September and will close on the 7th. But there are two venues, Nutgrove Shopping Centre, and behind the Nutgrove Shopping Centre is a place called the Bridge Enterprise Centre. All of those the two places will hold screenings, discussions, and there'll be opening reception on the 5th around the area of those who know the area of Starbucks and Quigley's, coffee shop area. That will be our reception area at 6:00 on the 5th of September. And indeed, later on, at the Milltown Golf Club is the venue for the sumptuous dinner, 3-course dinner, gala night, culture night, and an award night. So that's all that's happening. I'll recap all that in the next week a little bit more because the time is really short. And I do have also a wonderful as I said, segment that we have been so excited to finally conquering that today in our program. And that is the talking to Renita S. Kapoor, Urf Roohani, and all that. So thank you very much, and sit back, relax, and enjoy this particular track, and of course that segment that I have recorded.
मुझे कितना प्यार है तुमसे अपने ही दिल से पूछो तुम जिसे दिल दिया है वो तुम हो मेरी जिंदगी तुम्हारी है
मुझे कितना प्यार है तुमसे अपने ही दिल से पूछो तुम जिसे दिल दिया है वो तुम हो मेरी जिंदगी तुम्हारी
ने तेरी मुझको कुछ इस तरह से घेरा दिन को है तेरे चर्चे रातों को ख्वाब तेरा
तुम हो जहाँ वहीं पर रहता है दिल भी मेरा बस एक ख्याल तेरा क्या शाम क्या सवेरा
मुझे कितना प्यार है तुमसे अपने ही दिल से पूछो तुम जिसे दिल दिया है वो तुम हो मेरी जिंदगी तुम्हारी है सच्ची फिर क्यों न रंग लाए मेरे थे तुम सदा से पर अब करीब आए
मुझे कितना प्यार है तुमसे अपने ही दिल से पूछो तुम जिसे दिल दिया है वो तुम हो मेरी जिंदगी तुम्हारी है
तो अब तो तुम आजमाना छोड़ो दिल को चुरा के मेरे आंखें चुराना छोड़ो
मुझको बना के अपना बातें बनाना छोड़ो मैं कब न थी तुम्हारी लेकिन सताना छोड़ो
मुझे कितना प्यार है तुमसे अपने ही दिल से पूछो तुम जिसे दिल दिया है वो तुम हो मेरी जिंदगी तुम्हारी है मुझे कितना प्यार है तुमसे अपने ही दिल से पूछो तुम जिसे दिल दिया है वो तुम हो मेरी जिंदगी तुम्हारी है अकेले तो कभी बाग में जाया न करो तुम अकेले तो कभी बाग में जाया न करो आजकल फूल भी दिल वाले हुआ करते हैं कोई कदमों से लिपट बैठा तो फिर क्या होगा तो फिर क्या होगा
तुम अकेले तो कभी बाग में जाया न करो तुम अकेले तो कभी बाग में जाया न करो
Everything's fine on 93.9 Dublin South FM.
It is great to be on Dublin South 93.9 FM.
Dublin South FM is proud to announce the launch of the Dublin South Podcast Studio. Located in the Dundrum Town Centre, the Dublin South Podcast Studio provides creators and businesses the environment and expertise to produce high-quality podcasts designed to help keep you engaged with your audience. We provide a full podcast production service, including studio recording time, editing, and all post-production requirements. To find out more, please visit our website at www.dublinsouthpodcaststudio.ie or contact us at 01 296 5027. That's 01 296 5027.
Broadcasting to South Dublin on 93.9. This is Dublin South FM.
As we discussed 2 weeks ago in my program, I mentioned that I shall be introducing a new element, a third leg of the program, and that will be the discussion with a delectable individual called Renita Kapoor. Renita is an actor, and she'll talk about herself and introduce properly herself. And indeed, we will finish our conversation with the kind of things that she's engaged at the moment with a writing called Roohani ke purane Khat. And that is something that we are going to broadcast every week as part of the program, at the third element of the program, because the first element, as you know, the listeners, you know that we are talking about the news items, and then the second item is the hardcore news from India by Sharad Awasthi. So, Renita, very welcome to the program, and I'm excited to welcome you all here in my show, DSFM, 93.9 Dublin South FM.
Thank you so much for such a warm welcome. So happy to be here.
Wonderful, wonderful to have you here. And hopefully it will be a great collaboration and a great output from your point of view and from the program's point of view that we will be discussing this thing. So tell me about who you are.
All right. You have already introduced me with my name. So I am Renita S. Kapoor. That's my screen name. And a bit about myself. Like you said, I am an actor. Yes. I am a writer. And I'm also a coach.
Lovely.
I spread the message of love. I spread the message of self-love, self-care. That's something that I do out of my heart and soul. That's one thing I really want to grow all over the world, like, love over hatred and peace over all the disruption.
Are you, I believe you lived in Singapore for many years,
Yes.
15, 16 years as an entrepreneur and a
Yes.
restaurant owner and all that.
Yes.
How do you compare the two cultures?
Culture-wise, it's very similar. It's mostly Asian culture. In fact, I used to feel like I'm in a cleaner and more organized India.
Acha, okay.
Yeah, culture-wise, yes, I did not feel any difference. And that's why I felt really at home. And of course, I mean, that's one country which is extremely organized, extremely safe, especially for girls and women. But these days, it really doesn't matter. I mean, the kind of stuff that happens everywhere. Of course, there is a lot of difference, but then sometimes, you don't have a choice in life. And if you don't have a choice, you live with it. You make the best of whatever you have.
Yeah.
And that is up to us, whether we consider it, oh my God, what has happened in my life? Oh my God. Or you take it as a challenge. Take it. Ho gaya. Whatever. It has happened.
Move on.
Let me live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, move on.
Great. That is a very, very positive notion and a positive way of thinking. To live a future life, what has happened in the past is under the bridge, water is under the bridge. But move on and look for the, a better opportunities or a brighter future. In terms of acting, in terms of your coaching, I believe you're doing well and you're happy. But one message, what would you like to tell the listeners, particularly how to go about this?
Go about, sorry.
Positive.
About what?
About positivity. Despite the negativity around yourself or the environment and all that.
I guess just keep counting your blessings and just be thankful for whatever you have in your life. And that's the best way to keep yourself positive. Be thankful for the basics in your life, which many people in the world don't have. Yeah. So just be thankful for what you have.
What you have, you're thankful for that. And then particularly you aim for perhaps advancement or improvement and, all that. And wonderful, wonderful. But the people, what kind of people attracts you? What kind of people sort of repels you?
That's a very difficult question. I can't define that literally. I'm a very good listener. I'm just blessed, I think. I can just listen to people. So I'm not repulsed by, nothing like that. No, I don't know if this is, maybe we can strike off this question if you don't mind.
Sure. No problem. No. I mean, I've just been trying to.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And let's.
And maybe if in any of the other episodes we want to talk about parenting, maybe we can talk.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot
in more detail.
Sure. There's an issue of that as such and all that. But then what I would like to zoom back into the kind of discussion that we have, that you are a writer, you write poetry, and you write and you hopefully to publish that book, poetry book, in the name of your pen name, Roohani, and Roohani ke purane Khat. What is that all about?
Okay. So, yes, my pen name is Roohani. And I wrote these letters. So when I wrote these letters, I was not the character there. I wrote it on behalf of all those people, all those men, women, anyone and everyone who has been in love and is not with their lover. It could be the love of their life, their soulmate, their partner, their husband, their wife, or whatever. So I wrote it keeping in mind, if your partner leaves, just go somewhere. It could be work, it could be travel, it could be duty, it could be anything, and you have no way of contacting the person, and you don't know whether that person is coming back or not. What goes inside you? And with that thought, I wrote these Roohani ke purane Khat.
Okay.
And yeah, so that is what my podcast is all about.
Okay, so that's a void in you. You don't know where the person has disappeared.
I could read the first letter from my podcast. All right, so here it goes. आज रात कुछ ज्यादा ही चुपचाप सी है. सब सो रहे हैं, लेकिन मेरा दिल तुम्हें याद करके जाग रहा है. लेकिन मेरी आंखों की नींद तो तुम ले गए अपने साथ जब चले गए थे. बार बार तुम्हारा नाम दिल में गूंजता है. अंधेरे में तुम्हारा हाथ पकड़ने को मन करता है, पर वहां सिर्फ खालीपन है. फिर भी मेरे ख्यालों में तुम्हारा हाथ अब भी मेरे हाथ में ही है. मुझे तुम्हारी बहुत याद आ रही है, जितनी शायद मैंने कभी सोची भी नहीं थी. छोटी छोटी बातों में तुम्हारी कमी महसूस होती है. जैसे आदतन 2 कप चाय बना लेना, कुछ मजेदार देखकर तुम्हें बताने का मन करना, तुम्हारे वो बेसिर पैर के जोक्स मारना, और हर भीड़ में तुम्हारी मुस्कान ढूंढना.
Lovely.
So this is
Lovely.
a part of the letter, yes.
Lovely.
And if you want to hear the whole letter,
no,
probably
I
you'll
think
have
the time is wrapping up because we have limited time in this episode. So we'll continue our discussion, and perhaps you can continue the letters towards the end of the program as we just did, and we will talk about it, round about it, discuss some other thoughts. In the next episode. So many thanks.
And
Gigi.
I'm sorry to interrupt here.
Yeah.
We need to mention that if you want to hear the whole letter, then you have to go to Spotify and hear it out on Roohani ke purane Khat.
Okay.
I mean, that's the whole idea.
Okay. So do mention that, where you can find these Roohani ke purane Khat. Kahan par milenge wo?
So you can go on Spotify, and the whole podcast is there.
Okay.
And you can hear out the letters. Yes, it's called Roohani Ke Purane Khat by Renita S. Kapoor.
Okay, so Roohani Ke Purane Khat by Renita S. Kapoor. Those who are interested in listening and hearing her out, she's doing his podcast, and it's all there. So we will be including in our discussion towards the end of the discussion. And hopefully we will benefit the listeners from her experience, her thoughts, and her images that she has created in these poetry. So listen, Renita, बहुत शुक्रिया आपका. And I'm really grateful that we have managed to execute a bumpy ride of the start of this program. And
yes,
technically this happens, but it's a miracle that you're sitting in Lucknow, I'm sitting in Dublin, and we are talking. That in itself is an achievement of technology. So
absolutely,
you have a great weekend. Enjoy the life and be happy and be positive as usual, as you are. And we'll see you next week.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye for now. Take care.
के मुसाफिर चंदा जरा बता दे मेरा कसूर क्या है तू फैसला सुना दे ओ रात के मुसाफिर चंदा जरा बता दे मेरा कसूर क्या है तू फैसला सुना दे है भूल कोई दिल की आंखों की या खता है कुछ भी नहीं तो मुझसे फिर क्यों कोई खफा है भूल कोई दिल की आंखों की या खता है कुछ भी नहीं तो मुझसे फिर क्यों कोई खफा है फिर क्यों कोई खफा है मंजूर है वो मुझको जो कुछ भी तू सजा दे मेरा कसूर क्या है तू फैसला सुना दे
ओ रात के मुसाफिर चंदा जरा बता दे मेरा कसूर क्या है तू फैसला सुना दे दिल पे किसी को अपनी काबू नहीं रहा है ये राज मेरे दिल से आंखों ने ही कहा है दिल पे किसी को अपनी काबू नहीं रहा है ये राज मेरे दिल से आंखों ने ही कहा है आंखों ने ही कहा है आंखों ने जो है देखा दिल किस तरह भुला दे मेरा कसूर क्या है तू फैसला सुना दे
वो चांद आसमां के दम भर जमीन पे आ जा
भूला हुआ है राही तू रास्ता दिखा जा तू रास्ता दिखा जा
भटकी हुई है नैया साहिल इसे दिखा दे मेरा कसूर क्या है तू फैसला सुना दे ओ रात के मुसाफिर चंदा जरा बता दे मेरा कसूर क्या है तू फैसला सुना दे करके जिसका इंतजार मेरा दिल गया वही सपनों की शान देखो लाई मेरा प्यार
करके जिसका इंतजार मेरा दिल गया हार करके जिसका इंतजार मेरा दिल गया हार वही सपनों की शाम देखो लाई मेरा प्यार
मुझसे रूठी थी बेकार तुम मेरी जाने बहार, मुझसे रूठी थी बेकार तुम मेरी जाने बहार। पूछो अपने ही दिल से क्या झूठा था मेरा प्यार। यकीन मेरी प्रीत रंग लाएगी जरूर, रंग लाएगी जरूर।
दोनों भैया पसार थके जिसका पुकार,
वही सपनों की शाम देखो लाई मेरा प्यार।
करके जिसका इंतजार मेरा दिल गया हार, वही सपनों की शाम देखो लाई मेरा प्यार।
तुमने मुझको समझा गैर, तुमने मुझको समझा गैर, किया मुझसे था बैर।
सैया मैंने जीने रैन मांगी बिंदिया की खैर, मांगी बिंदिया की खैर।
जिस पे सब कुछ हार मिटने को था मैं तैयार,
वही सपनों की शाम